Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As per the title of this video, this is going to be the finale to my Problems with Journeys series. Now, I know it's taken a while for me to finally wrap this up, and most of you have either forgotten about it or haven't even seen the other parts. So if you're curious to what I'm talking about here, go back to the previous videos. I will link those in the iCard above with the playlist, so that way you guys can have some familiarity with what I'm talking about. While I did have a couple of things lined up for this final part in the series, I actually decided to wait for Journeys to finish before I decided to end it. And the reason for it is because I had a feeling they were going to end in a certain way, which if you guys have watched my first video, you already know what I'm talking about. But with Journeys coming to an end, and they've officially announced that Ash's adventures are coming to an end, it's the perfect time for me to wrap up what I have left for this particular project. So with all that being said, I got 4 different categories for you today, and I know the other videos kind of drag on a little bit long, but I'm going to do my best to minimize the stuff that I have to talk about because we have a lot to get through. So with all that being said, the first subject I want to talk to you guys about is going to be what the anime should be. Now, you may be asking what I mean by that. Well, what I'm talking about is, in particularly this part, the games themselves. So we, as the fandom, get new games every couple of years, and it's for us to find out the nooks and the crannies and figure out everything we can about the games. But there's a lot in the games that are left to speculation, and it's always been my opinion that the anime should fill in those gaps. It should kind of offer us a possibility of what could be interpreted in the games, so that way it doesn't leave a lot of us guessing on what they are. For the most part, they've kind of done that in previous parts, or expanded on certain things, or given us anime exclusive areas or adventures, but Journeys, there really wasn't a whole lot of that, and it's because we didn't really spend a lot of time in the Galar region. It was more of a global hopping expedition, which kind of furthers the problem that I'm talking about here. This brings me into my next section of the video, which is a problem that I feel really could have been addressed in Journeys, and it's the locations of the Pokemon world. You see, with the Pokemon franchise being based upon the games, there's only so much they can put into the games, and that's where the anime really has a chance to shine, because it can really expand on what the games has really set as its base for inspiration and stuff like that. That's how we get movie exclusive adventures like Jirachi and the Wishmaker, or Pokemon Heroes, stuff like that. Those extra adventures that could be canon in the anime but may not be canon, but it allows them to expand on those particular Pokemon, particular areas, if you will. And because Journeys didn't really take part in Galar, we didn't really get that. There was a severe lack of a lot of the places that they could have expanded, a lot of anime exclusive areas. And not only that, but there is one key factor that's been missing, particularly from this region, and that is the advent of movies into the franchise. Sun and Moon also lacked those as well, but this generation in particular, it didn't feel as important in any other one than this one, because it would have given us a lot more to expand on in the Galar region. And unfortunately, the time that we got there was very, very short. But if there's one other region that has a severe lack of expansion or a severe lack of notoriety, I feel that it is actually the Johto region. Now, hear me out, because some of you are probably wondering why I'm talking about Johto. After all, they've had their own sets of movies, they got a full anime out of it and everything. But there's one particular reason why I think Johto really got the short end of the stick out of every other region pre-Paldea. And it's a very simple thing. It goes back to the beginning of the Pokemon actual games. It's kind of a widely known fact now that essentially Johto is just Kanto 2.0. Everything they couldn't really fit into the first gen games kind of got squeezed into the second gen. That's why we got 2 regions in the same games. That's why it kind of feels like Kanto, or just a knockoff version of Kanto, which in my eyes is a problem. In the games specifically, they both share a regional championship at the Indigo Plateau. Their Elite Four and champion is consisted of members from the previous games, which can kind of make sense because they're right next door to each other. They're the only 2 regions in the Pokemon world that are literally neighbors. But when we went to the anime, they went out of their way to set the championship at Mount Silver. So that was their chance to kind of expand on that and differ themselves from the game. They didn't really talk about a champion in Johto per se. They didn't really talk about Elite Four members in Johto. They just kind of left us guessing and assuming that it's the same as the actual games, which to me is a huge problem, because if you're going to change the location of the championship to a location that is definitively in the Johto region on Mount Silver, why not expand on these things? And Journeys was the perfect opportunity to do that. They could update backstories for characters, actually introduce Janine as the gym leader in Fuchsia City, show that Koga got the promotion to an Elite Four member in Johto, expand on certain things, give an actual championship match that Lance could have had. Statistically, Lance should be the strongest trainer. In the Journeys anime, he's depicted as a 2 regional champion, Kanto and Johto, which, I mean, that's great for thematic purposes and keeping continuity with the games, but at the same time, it just furthers my thoughts on the problem with Johto itself. It really doesn't have its own identity. It just really feels like Kanto 2.0. And Journeys really missed the ball on defining a clear difference between these two, which, seeing how I'm talking about Lance and his statistics, let's talk about the next subject on the platter, which is the Masters 8. Now, this is open to personal interpretation. I'm fully aware of that. But here's my major problem with the Masters 8. Let's not even talk about really the battles in the Master 8. Let's talk about the Masters 8 themselves. You see, the ultimate goal for this region was Ash is supposed to be on this World Championship quest, because there's not really much else for him to do, seeing how he's a regional champion in Alola, which is great. That's the next logical step for him as a character in this progression. But there's really 2 goals in Journeys. The World Championship and the World Champion is one of them, and that's the top goal. But the Masters 8 is the second goal. And if you ask me, not that really anybody has, but I'm going to tell you anyway, I feel like this is where they really fell short. And what I mean by that is they didn't really put a lot of emphasis on the Masters 8 until it really became necessary. A lot later, as Ash got closer and closer to it. And in my eyes, we should see updated versions of the Masters 8 going through on and out. Not as it has to be in every episode, but there could be throwaways to the revolving door of what the Masters 8 could be. I mean, we got a really good match between Leon and Flint was in the Masters 8, and he lost his ranking because he lost to Leon. And by the time Ash got there, Flint was no longer there, which is great, but it came too late. This would have been the perfect opportunity to show other trainers that really didn't get the limelight in the anime like they could have. Take, for instance, any member of the Kanto or Johto Elite Four. Those guys in particular, some of them have been shown off, but most of them haven't. And this would have been a prime example to show them, just acknowledge them running through the ranks. Or how about the Hoenn Elite Four? They are really non-existent outside of Drake. You can even talk about the Sinnoh Elite Four. Yeah, Flint got his time to shine, but there's 3 other members, and they all had small but important roles in the Diamond and Pearl series that really could have expanded on here. I mean, Unova is another example. Kalos is another example. We got a couple of their members, but not all of them. And the Masters 8 tournament would be something that those levels of trainers would be vying for. And I don't understand how we just completely missed them. And speaking of misses, what about the Frontier Brains? These are Elite Four and champion level trainers that completely didn't get touched on. And I don't understand why. I mean, at least Brandon. Brandon is unofficially the strongest of them all across the regions that have a battle frontier. Why not let him be part of this? It doesn't really make any sense. They just chose to ignore all facets of anything they established previous to Journeys, and it really made for a worse story overall, because they were so focused on just trying to tell something new rather than trying to tell a blend of new and trying to also give a nice callback to old. The callbacks that we got were too far in between, and it really hurt the entire story that they had to tell for Ash and Pikachu. And this is going to lead me into my final thought on this, and that's Ash and Pikachu leaving. I said in my very first video of this project that it was very widely speculated that this would be Ash and Pikachu's ending. This is his swan song, their last time in the anime, because after becoming a world champion, outside of a title defense, what really are you going to have to do? And in reality, it makes sense for them to move on to somebody new and possibly have Ash kind of just show up every now and then, maybe a title defense, nods, or kind of planting seeds for the next generation. But the fact that this is Ash and Pikachu's final adventure, or at least their final main adventure for us, is really sad, because the best we could get to any callbacks to anything that he's previously done is a couple of one-off episodes with him sharing time with his old Pokemon, really using them only to train his new Pokemon, which is a huge mistake in my opinion, because we don't really get to see their strength and how they've grown since their last really big role on screen. And then Pikachu's final battle with Charizard, which, don't get me wrong, that battle was amazing. The art, the intensity, it had me on the edge of my seat. But the best they could do was just a simple flashback to everybody that Ash and Pikachu have traveled with, which, waiting until the penultimate spot of the series to give them that notoriety is very, very disheartening. That's not the way you send out somebody who's done what Ash has done. And it's not about what he's done in the Pokemon world. It's about what he's done for us as a fandom. Ash has been somebody that we followed for years. I followed him since I was a kid. And a lot of the fandom has really aspired to be like Ash. They always wanted to do a journey. They always wanted to go on their next adventure. And for them just to not really want to call back anything he's done outside of a couple of flashbacks and a couple of brief appearances, it really sells him short for the accomplishments that he's done on our end. And I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. I really think that Ash and Pikachu deserve better. They needed more acknowledgement to the roads that they have traveled. And if you guys are watching this at this point, you may or may not have seen my teaser trailer already. This is where things in that teaser trailer are going to kind of make sense. I've had a frustration with Journey since it began, and that it's not going to just when I started this series, it's going all the way back to when the anime first aired back in 2020. I knew that this was going to be Ash's final rodeo, and I was afraid that things were going to happen the way they did. Unfortunately, I don't think it was right. I don't think that the Journeys anime did Ash justice, did Pikachu justice for all the adventures that they've shared over the years with us. So this is my official announcement that my next What If Ash won series will be the What If Ash won the PWC, the Pokemon World Championship. I really think that we as a fandom deserved better than what we got. I'm not saying that they didn't have great moments. I'm not saying that the Journeys anime was less for what we got. All I'm saying is that I think that there should have been closure to certain things, updates for other things, and acknowledgements from where Ash came from to where he is now, which was far and in between. So it's my goal to use the What If Ash won the PWC to do this exactly. And not only that, but fill in any gaps that we may have had from previous animes, things that may have not got touched on because of certain real life events that may have caused them to not get included because of sensitivity on certain subjects or missed opportunities just in general. This project is going to span a very long time, and it's because I want to make sure that it's done right. And yes, I am aware based upon the comments that in that teaser trailer, Ash has already won the Pokemon World Championship. This is going to be my take on how it should have happened, because I really want to give the fandom the proper goodbye for Ash. And that's just something that I don't really think we got. I mean, let's be honest. The time of filming this, Ash is going through his final 11 episodes. And it's just now that we're starting to get him to see rotating his team. And he's just out doing adventures, which is what he was doing in the Journeys anime to begin with. He could have been doing that thing the entire time, and he didn't. And it's really sad. But I don't want to end this on a sour note. I don't want to end this on a negative note. I really want you guys to be excited for what I have planned, because the first week of March is going to be my first episode, and I'm already in the process of editing it at the time of recording this and getting everything set up. And I can promise you that the first episode, within the first 5 minutes of it, you're going to see what I am talking about. But with all of that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really hope that you guys will come back and watch my new What If Ash won the PWC, because I promise you, I give you my personal guarantee, this is being written from the heart. This is something that I'm going to put everything that I have into. I'm going to use all the skills that I've acquired over the last 3 years in editing videos, editing audio, putting music, visuals, everything to make this as top notch as possible. And also, I'm going to be using anything that I've developed for storytelling. I want to give you guys the best experience possible. I want to give the Pokemon fandom the best experience possible. That's the whole reason for this. And I just want to give Ash the proper goodbye. And that's all we have for this episode today, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I really hope you consider following me for future content. Now, if you really want to support me on other platforms, please hop on over to my Discord where you can meet some like-minded people and conversate with them and me. You can also follow me on Twitter, to where I post sometimes and give you behind-the-scenes content that I'm currently working on. And if you want to go a little bit further, consider becoming a YouTube channel member or a patron. For only $5 a month, you're going to get up to a week's early access to all of my videos, plus you'll get exclusive content as well. With all that being said, it's time to sign out the video the best way we know how, by thanking the sponsors, the YouTube channel members, and the patrons. For the YouTube channel members, we have Still There 123, Irua Karina, Pickle, ASTD. And for the patrons, we have Silver Heart Soul, Robert, Vegito Gaming 78, Andrew McCartney, Holosif, Julian Rodriguez, Ruben Watson, Lord Explosion Murder, Assassin 139, Flyer 943, Shadow Dragon, K McKnight, Kevin Atran, Drax, Truevolt, Dino King, Warney Taylor, Plus Ultraman, Megger, Mike Logan, Eddie, Kendall Green, Earth Dragon, John Larson, Forbidden Super, Dylan Nicholson, Gerald Smith, Normandy 1998, Chris Lackerman, Trainer Rad 164, Robert, Johnny, Brad 1, Ifosa Amid, Indigo Saturn 64, Kevin Malula, Chris Collins, Nicholas Onthank, Christian Anderson, Thomas Watson, Justin Ray, Gray Leo, Irving 14209, Nathan Perry, TC Com, Dylan Wolfdog 31, and Mario Pikachu. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.